Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Dealer to Healer podcast. Today we've got a great guest called Phoebe Leona. She is from the USA. She's a little bit of a traveler, actually. I don't know where she's specifically from. I know she's now residing in West Virginia at the moment. She spent a lot of time in New York City. She comes from a dance background. She moved into yoga, into healing. She's created a Movement 109, which is it's like a little bit like yoga rave, to be honest, but I think it's a little bit more chilled, working through the chakras, working through energy centers to help people to evolve, to become the best version of themselves, to move into their power, to process trauma, and to bring healing to the whole body, really. So that's what she's up to. An amazing woman. She's got this site called nOMad, which is a community which put on morning rituals like meditations, yoga, the dance thing, community for people to connect. She's also a podcaster. I've been on her podcast, so we will send a link to that next time when it becomes available. I'll link you all up on the social media. But yeah, she's doing amazing work, and I'm kind of really looking forward to the conversation because we got connected by my good friend Bodhi, South African Bodhi, who I met in Barcelona, who you remember was on the podcast a little while back. So thank you to you, brother. What has been happening yoga raves are still going on the Facebook live page, Liam Browne Love, every Sunday 11 a.m. Dance party Tuesday night 6 p.m, Thursday night 6 p.m. Come and join me for the two banger dance party over on Facebook Live. What else we got going on? Oh, Holistic Festival Manchester. If you go over to holisticmanchester.com, we are going to be appearing on their International Day of Yoga. It's an international festival all over the world, kind of like a bank holiday for yoga sort of thing, or a day of remembrance for yoga. And we are doing a yoga rave on their festival. Basically, we're headlining the festival, I think, which is pretty epic. Was absolutely buzzing to be invited. We were supposed to be doing the live event at Victoria Baths in Manchester, which hopefully is going to be taking place in September. So if you can get there, get there. If not, go over to holisticmanchester.com, buy your ticket for Sunday. It's like, I don't know, it's ridiculous. It's like a $5 or something, proper cheap. There's a timetable of teachers on all through the day, some epic teachers. My teacher, Andrea Everingham, is on there. I think Stuart Pilkington, who's been on the show, is teaching. There's a couple of Indian teachers. It's quite an international lineup. It's pretty special. So go and check that out. On Friday, the 19th, I will be on EnviroFest, which is a festival. It's usually called EnviroFest, which takes place in Platt Fields in Manchester. Obviously, they can't do it at the moment, so they've put on a little festival. They've asked us to come and do a yoga rave there, and also be appearing on Yoga Estival, which is, if you check that out on Facebook, they are putting on a festival for International Day of Yoga. Also, we are on at 7 p.m. till 9. We'll be smashing out a yoga rave, so come and join us for some sick, fresh, funky, flowing, dynamic asana mixed in with some banging dance tunes and some next level raving. So if you're up for raving, come and check it out. Come and have a look. Come and get involved. Come and move your body. Release any tension. Get rid of any stress that you're holding on to. Let's get rid of that this weekend. International Festival of Yoga is also the solstice. So set your intentions, let go of anything you've been holding on to. This is a moment of transformation, of rejuvenation, of time to reset, refresh. So do what you need to do. We're going to Castle Rig in the Lake District to the Stone Circle. We're going to do some prayers, make some manifestations, make some commitments in front of each other, drink some cacao, stay up all night until the sunset, and do some sun salutations when the sun pops its head up. So that is what we're up to. Check out the Dealer to Healer book, which is on Amazon. It's still available. You can get it in paperback and on Kindle. So check that out. So I'm going to stop waffling. I'm going to hand it over. This is Phoebe Leona. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Peace and love, people. Bye. You to bless my soul. This is the Dealer to Healer podcast. Okay, so my guest today is a beautiful American yoga teacher, dancer, ex-dance teacher, professional dancer. She's actually moved in to combine her two passions, and she does something called MVT09, which we're going to find out all about today. Her name is Phoebe Leona, which is a new name for her, which she's had a little name changing ceremony that I've just found out about, which I'm excited to hear all about. So welcome to the Dealer to Healer podcast. Phoebe, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you, Leo. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to chat, to get your story. I've just been on Phoebe's podcast, which is called The Space Between. And we just had a beautiful chat. So now the roles have been reversed. She's going to tell us all about her life. So I think just to start off with, can you just tell us a little bit about what you do, like at the moment, what you're up to?
Yeah, at the moment, I've been sort of in lockdown with everybody else. I am currently in West Virginia in the States. I got here about a month ago. I was actually in Bali before the lockdown happened, and then I went back to New York and decided to be with my family during this period. Mm-hmm. So I'm physically here in West Virginia right now. And what I'm doing is bringing a lot of my work online. As you said, I teach yoga, but this past few years I've been transitioning sort of more circling back to my roots of dance. So I've been teaching my movement practice in Zoom land, like most everybody who teaches these days. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've been doing in the day-to-day, and I'm working on a couple of projects. I'm always juggling things. I've always been a hustler in lots of ways, and creating things and doing things. So I'm in the midst of a few projects that I can share about. But and just taking care of myself, being centered and figuring out, why am I here in this moment in time with all of us? Yeah. And how can I be of service? And that's kind of what keeps happening as I sit and I listen, and then I go and create these projects and then do it and execute. And it's just this beautiful cycle that I've been doing for a period of time, but especially right now, going between the movement and stillness.
And so tell us a bit about the movement and stillness, the MVT 109. Would you say that's kind of like your sort of main thing at the moment?
Yeah, it is. Actually, we call it Movement 109. So MVT, we abbreviate it. Okay. Yeah, we abbreviate it. It's like a classical piece of music. They say MVT, like movement 1, movement 2. Yeah. So it's Movement 109. And you picked up on it. Yeah, the number 109 is the guru bead on the mala. And it is exactly that, this play between movement and stillness. And that is what I'm doing. It's interesting how I came to it a couple of years ago, because I was teaching yoga full on, a lot of teacher trainings back to back to back to back. And I was sort of kind of getting sick of practicing asana and teaching asana and how to teach asana, that I needed a break from it. And I had just I was invited to present at a TED Talk, a TEDx, about 2 years ago. And I was invited with this idea of dancing again. And I hadn't been on a stage. It had been probably 7 years since I kind of quote unquote retired from my dance career. So it lit something within me, and I was feeling like being able to share my story through movement in that TEDx was reignited a flame. And then with the, practicing and teaching all of the asana, I was moving differently too. I was moving differently on the floor, in my body, and not doing like the down dogs and the warrior poses. I was moving way more organically and fluidly. And I thought, this needs to be shared. And it wasn't anything that I invented. It was really just this beautiful arc of all of the movement that I've been taught over time, or I've practiced in my room as my own therapy as a child. And I thought, wow, I'm seeing this beautiful container that I can offer to people now. And I feel that I have a vocabulary to, and a place to do it, you know, with this business that I created, nOMad. So I just presented it at a teacher training one day. I made it like, it goes through the chakras. And so I used it as like our teaching for the chakras. And I just said to my students, and I invited some other people in my community that are my peers and who are healers and yoga teachers. And I just said, is this anything? Mm-hmm. Is this anything? And they did. They said, this is something here. I don't know what it is, but there's something here. And so I've just been going on this beautiful journey with it more formally the past 2 years. Yeah. And I've been transitioning more away from the teacher trainings into this. And I just led my first facilitator training for this in November last year.
Right. So you're actually training people to take this out into the world and to offer it to more people. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that is one thing that I know I've been called to do is that I've been gifted to be a great teacher in how to teach people, how to take it out into the world. And not in a way of like, this is our system and this is how you have to do it, but just to give them a really beautiful framework to work with, whether it is yoga or this movement practice, and then to empower them to use their own voice through it. Yeah. So that's what really lights me up. You know, I've taught Pilates and yoga and dance for so many years in the studio, and, you know, taught, you know, the average person, you know, the housewife, the college student, whoever, the retiree who get a lot out of it, but they only want to go so deep. And I'm like, I really shine, and I feel, and I can empower other people who want to go really deep with this work. And so that's what I feel like. That's my jam. That's my jam.
Lighting you up at the moment.
Yeah. Well, just this recurring pattern is to share the gifts that I have in this container and give it to other people to share out into the world. So it kind of like ripples out. Yeah. It doesn't just stop.
So does the movement 109 thing, does it sit on its own, or is it part of a yoga teacher training now?
It is on its own now. So yeah, when I first introduced it, I just did a little workshop bead day, and then I've been developing it more and more and getting more vocabulary around it. So yeah, it's on its own. And we did a level 1, and now I'm thinking I have a level 2, and I might even have a level 3, because I've been just the further I go into the practice, and then the further studies that I just wrapped up this trauma somatic therapy for trauma course that I studied with online a couple of weeks ago, and now I feel like there's this whole other layer that I want to dive into. So I can see it kind of building, and then people can decide. You know, they don't have to do like a 200-hour yoga teacher training that we all do in the yoga world. It'll be, you can kind of decide how deep you want to go. If you just want to use the floor work, we do a whole floor work at the beginning. So that's what level 1 is getting into the body and dropping down to the parasympathetic nervous system, like the rest, digest, and recover system. And then level 2 is like more of the ceremony of it, of creating the space and the dancing aspect of it. And then I think level 3 will be this trauma therapy piece of it.
So before lockdown and quarantine, whatever you're calling it.
Yeah. Well, I go back and forth.
I just call it house arrest.
Okay.
But I've never took any notice of it. I just carried on with my life normally. Yeah. And so, if you went before that, when you were putting on a class, how did that look? How did a class look? How long did it last for? What happened?
Yeah.
What was it achieving for people? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good question. So when we were able to do it, and you said this in your podcast too, it's definitely been different being in person versus online. The structure is the same though. When we were together, we usually came together, and we still do this, is we have a little bit of some sort of talk, and we can label that as a Dharma talk, or some sort of intention setting as a group. And then there's a bit of the centering. It's a very similar arc of a yoga class, right? We come together, we center, and we have this talk, and then we do a lot of floor work. So we're on the floor for about 30 minutes, sometimes longer. And it's just going through the chakras, going through the body, noticing the patterns that are in the body. So let's say in your pelvis, you know, we'll do these movements that are kind of tracing the patterns. We do a lot of infinity signs, the figure 8 on that side. We do a lot of this is kind of tracking the body and seeing, is there held energy there? Right. And the more I'm studying about fascia and how our memories are being held in our fascia, you know, in our connective tissues. And so when we're going through these movements, we might realize like, oh, I don't even feel my right hip, or, oh, it feels really stuck here, and not trying to force it into a shape, just acknowledging it, turning the light onto it. So we do that through the body in various different movements, lying down, sitting up. So that's the first like half of the class. And then what we do is we come to stand, and then we put music on. And I say sometimes it looks like dancing because, you know, some people are like, oh my God, a dance class, especially my yoga students. Yeah, they feel like just being on the yoga mat doing a down dog is hard enough for them. Now you're going to put music on and I have to dance. Yeah. So I got, it's like, oh my God, what? I might have fun. Yeah, so we come to stand, and then I put music on, and same thing, similar. It sounds like it's to yours. It's moving up through the chakras with the music and the movement, and I guide them, but less. So we're moving from that form, understanding the forms that are in our bodies, and then moving more to the formless. So in the dance, you know, I'll guide them like, oh, maybe they'll repeat that figure 8 in their hips when we're in the sacral chakra, with music that feels, you know, emotional or sensual, you know, something that feels alignment, that same vibration of where we're working. So we work our way through that. And then what happens after that is we, again, just like the arc of yoga class, we bring it back down. So we eventually find our way to the ground into what looks like Shavasana. So that's really that's the arc of the class. The other layer to it is I've been working with one of my friends. She's actually my acupuncturist. We've started to co-create together. She's also a breathwork practitioner or facilitator. She's in the school of, oh no, his name just left me. David, do you know breathwork? David, oh no, I don't want to say it because it's going to be the wrong one. But anyways,
David will call him.
Yeah, exactly. It's the 3-part. It's the three breath. Yeah. And so we do this arc of movement practice. We come to the ground, and then she leads through about an hour of breath work. Right. And then it's just, you're sort of everything explodes having those two together. So
amazing. So your 109 is now being sort of finished off with a breathwork session.
Sometimes we do, like, we alternate. Sometimes it'll just be movement, and then sometimes we'll collaborate if our schedules work. Cool. But it's been really powerful.
Yeah. And so have you moved that totally online now?
Everything's online now. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting time because I gave up my apartment May last year, with the intention of moving out of New York and traveling a bit more. I mean, I've always been traveling, but to just have this intention of traveling a bit more and to make my business more online. And we have an online studio and everything. And I was in Bali leading a retreat, and I had sort of, April was like this, I don't know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And I was going to be in West Virginia for my sister's wedding. And I did. It was like literally in the space in between. And I swear, universe, it was just this divine timing for me, at least, of just saying, you need to sit still and get your shit online. Right. Get everything online. You know, Now everybody's doing it, but now you really have to put everything in Zoom land and do this. So yeah, it's given me an opportunity to gain a little bit more clarity in what that wants to be and how to execute it.
So it's kind of like what you wanted to do has kind of been forced upon you.
Yeah. It's like, you've been saying this for so long. Now get the fuck get to it.
I think there'll be probably a lot of yoga teachers breath workers, everything, who were like, okay, well, I can still get by, I can still achieve what I want, and actually maybe I've got a bigger reach with this online thing. You know, I still want to connect to humans as and when, but maybe I don't have to run it. Like, you know, I know a lot of yoga teachers, they're running around trying to get to classes on this side of the city, this side of the city. And it's like, I even talked to Bodhi about it. And he was like, you know, since I've just cut a lot of my classes out and just focused on this online stuff and this morning class, I'm making more money than I was when I was running around. And I think a lot of people are going to find an equilibrium after, when they come out of the back of this, and move a lot of their stuff online, which is cool.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful too, because, you know, Bodhi's class is a little hard for me to get to. It's 1 a.m. here when he has that, but it's been really lovely to be able to go to classes, you know, that I couldn't normally do. That are in Spain or that are in California, you know, studying with people that I've studied with years ago, or finding new people, you know, like Bodhi, and maybe I'll get to one of your yoga raves now. So that's the beautiful plus is that, and also students from around the world are coming to me now. So, you know, it was a bit limited, and I always felt that too, because I lived in New York City for 10 years, and then I moved out, or 11 years, and then I moved up to the Hudson Valley, which was this really small community. And within that 10 years, it exploded, and it actually became oversaturated to a certain extent. But I always felt like limited in it, and I knew that there was something else that I wanted to do and to reach further beyond that community. And so now it's like, oh, shit's happening now. So
yeah,
that's cool. And
we get forced into these things.
Yeah. And, you know, it's been lovely to be in West Virginia. It's not like the place I definitely want to end up, but it's been lovely to, you know, be here with my grandmother and in nature, and still be able to feel connected to people.
So is West Virginia, is that home? Is that where you were like brought up?
No, I was born in Pennsylvania, grew up outside of DC, Washington, DC, in the Maryland side. And my family moved out here to West Virginia. West Virginia, where they live, is the Eastern Panhandle. So it's about an hour and a half west of Washington, D.C. So there are a lot of transplants that move out here. It's the country, but, you know, you have a lot of people that have, you know, kind of the city mindset, sort of. I mean, there's still like the typical stereotypical West Virginia that people think of. I don't know if you know of that, but yeah, in the States, people.
I mean, my dad probably would, from films and stuff, but no, it means nothing to me. It's just a song that says West Virginia. That's all I can think of. What's that song?
I know what you're saying. It's like, yeah, I can't sing it. I don't remember, but yeah, I know exactly. Yeah.
I just have this image of like houses with pretty little white picket fences everywhere.
Yeah, it's a little bit, that's more like suburbia, and this is more rural. Yeah. Okay. But there is a neighborhood, you know, we're in a neighborhood, but I mean, I'm sitting here looking out the window and I don't see anything right now, but I can look and there are bunnies here. And then out the other window, I usually see foxes and deer and turkeys. And
so it's really rural.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it's nice to have, I kind of feel like I have the best of both worlds, is I can move in and lean into this Zoom world and be with you in the UK and, you know, be somewhere else. And then I get to go outside and be in nature right now.
Beautiful. So, and so what's the I want to go back to the Movement 109 in a minute, because I've got some more questions.
Whatever.
What's your plan now with everything that you're doing, or just with life, or is there a plan, or are you on hold?
Oh God, yeah. Thank you for asking me that. I don't have an answer. The plan is to be really present, to be really still, and to just listen. It's so funny because I feel like I keep having plans and then life says, no, that's not going to work. That just seems to be the story of my life. Like, try this. Why don't you try that? And even though it might rub up against me and I'll, resist it. And then I'm like, fine, let me try this. So I don't have a plan at the moment. My plan was to actually go to Spain and live there for 3 months. Because I had been there right before Bali. I went there, I think in early February, and just to kind of revisit it and see if I wanted to end up in Barcelona. And you lived there for a few months too, right?
I was there for about 2 months over the winter. Yeah.
Okay. And how was that for you?
I love the city. I love the connections and the people and the architecture. But there's a lot of crime in Barcelona, like a hell of a lot. I have never been anywhere on earth where it's been as much crime. And like Manchester's a pretty rough and ready city, and Barcelona's gorgeous and stuff, but there was just this dark edge to it. Like, you know, when you're on a park, like doing acro yoga with loads of people, everybody is like hawks on where their bags are and stuff, because there's so many pickpockets and thieves. And it's just like, for me, I was like, because I wanted to kind of was thinking of moving there. And then I realized after, like, a friend of mine got robbed when we were on the beach, like the bag got taken.
Oh man.
And I was aware that then wherever I was walking, I was conscious of my pockets. Yeah. And I'm like, this isn't cool. You know what I mean? That's for me, that wasn't cool. And it was it tells you how difficult the decision is, because there's so much amazingness in Barcelona. But I'm like, I just don't know if I could live somewhere where I'm aware of my pockets. That's interesting. Yeah, it is a tricky one. It's funny because I think I had a couple of little plans, and it was Spain, it was New Mexico too, because I really love Santa Fe. I have been building up a community there. I've been going there a lot the past few years. And so those, I love Taos. Oh, wait, actually, in your book, you said I didn't get to it in your book, but you said you were about to go up there. You do go there? Okay. We'll have to talk another time about that. Santa Fe is where I have friends and family, but I've gone up there too for like day trips and stuff. And so those were sort of my two ideas. And now I feel like universe is like, hold up, you got to stay put for a minute, because where I do want to end up, I want to grow roots there. I feel like the past, specifically like 7 years, I've been sort of on the run in various ways, not just physically moving around, but traveling. Not and the police after you.
This girl, I'm always on the run. Like looking over my shoulder. We're gonna find out. This white yogi girl.
It's all coming out.
It's all coming out. No, but I can talk more to that in a moment. But I feel like where I end up next, I want to build a home for myself and get a little bit more rooted. And so, I was giving myself this past year of traveling a little bit more to, get those glimmers of, oh, this could be it, or this could be that. And I didn't get an answer yet. And so stillness seems to be the option right now. So that's what I'm doing. That's the plan, is to be present and to listen.
And it seems for a lot of us, like this kind of forced stillness is, like you said, about developing the online thing. Like for me, this year was all about developing my business. And actually, by everything stopping, has allowed me to put so much more energy into that and to be still in one place. Whereas I'm proper like Vata Pitta. I'm constant, like my energy's high, and I want to be going somewhere all the time. And I've just been like, I've been still, and I've enjoyed it, and I've been focusing on those other things that I usually would be like at the bottom of my pile. They've come up to the forefront, and I'm like, okay, I'll deal with them. So it's a major blessing in that respect, I think. Yeah,
I definitely feel the same too. I mean, now, when I got back from Bali and I was in New York, I was really grateful that I had a great home to be in by myself. And I was getting used to it. I mean, I had a lot of feelings. There were a lot of emotions and a lot of shadows coming up in that space, that time and space. But I was also like, man, I really like being a shut-in. Like, I like this thing. Like, nope, can't see you today. I got to stay home, you know, because I feel like I love to go out. I love to be social. I love to see. I love my people. Yeah. But I know that I get really drained easily. And sometimes I'm good about recharging myself, but sometimes I'm not. I've gotten a lot better the past few years. But it's just been really good to say, no, sorry, you know, this whole quarantine, this whole lockdown, I can't.
You don't even have to say no. It's great.
Exactly. It's good. Like, oh, sorry, we can't do it.
There's nothing happening. There's nothing open. There's no one doing anything. It's like,
yeah. So, I mean, I want to also just highlight that I feel very privileged that I have been in that position. I know that a lot of other people have had a really hard time, you know, and haven't had that privilege to stay home. They're in the front lines taking care of other people and maybe not having a good home life. But I'm extremely grateful that I have been in a really safe place for me to, you know, hold this time and space to figure out what is next. How can I be of service to others? In all of this. I
think that's the biggest question is how do I serve others, and how do I serve God, really? Like, what's God got planned for me? Like, do I take a little bit off the reins and just allow the universe to show me what's going to happen? Is this year just about me witnessing, finding the stillness, and just going, okay, maybe we'll see what happens next year? Because I don't even think how volatile the world is at the moment. What's the point of making any concrete plans about anything, really? Just working on, and we'll see what materializes.
We don't know what the next wave will be, whether it's a pandemic or it's something else like Black Lives Matter. It could be a whole other wave of something else. And like you and I talked about on the last interview we just did together, just all these systems will be collapsing. What's that going to look like, and how's that going to affect us and in our own travels or our own day-to-day lives? So it's hard to have plans. And isn't that the essence of what we're teaching others, is to be present? So
to flow. And that's what it sounds like with your movement 109. Because I find it with my own practice as well. It's like if I'm just practicing yoga, there's parts of me that don't flow. Like I have to go and play football or squash, or, you know, do some other activities that is kind of give me a more explosive energy. Because, you know, even when you're doing a really dynamic practice, it's still, you're just in this one space, and you're learning loads in there, but there's still a lot out on the other side of it. And I think a lot of yogis, they get stuck on the mat. You know, and I know we learn so much, and you're trying to bring people who don't get onto the mat, come and experience this mat and be with you and be with your body, and allow Browne to move through it freely, but then don't get stuck there.
Exactly. Well, when you were just speaking, you were even like moving your hands forward and back. And that's what I think, you know, it's good in it, and where we get the stuck is that it's very linear movement. It's forward, it's back, it's side, but there's no flow, like you said. There's the flow, like take your flow or whatever, the flow of asana, but it's not that organic, formless flow. It's very linear. It's very masculine. It's very young. And we need that. We needed some sort of structure. We needed that like literal mat to be on. And like you said, like to do that practice, to get in our body, to get in our mind and see what's going on there. And now it's like you and I are both taking it to the next step. Like, okay, we've done that. We've created this structure that feels safe. And now, okay, I can take it next to the formless. We can move through and flow through it with ease. Whereas maybe somebody, and I really feel like what we're all going through right now is some sort of trigger of all of our traumas, personal, generational, institutional, collective. We're all being triggered in a lot of ways. And the thing that I'm learning more and more as I dive deeper into my own healing journey and studying is that you can't really heal unless you feel safe. Yeah, you have to create some sort of safe container. You have to feel safe in your body to even explore it, right? If you don't know how to be in your body, if you were using like drugs or alcohol or other things like addiction to porn or addiction to eating or whatever, that was some sort of avoidance of your body. And because you didn't feel safe in it for whatever reason, whether you were directly, traumatized through, sexual or physical abuse, or you witnessed it, or maybe it's something that you collected from your parents and their own journey. But if you don't feel safe in your body, then you can't really experience what we're kind of exploring right now, you and I, through our teaching of the formless. Yeah. So yoga is really beautiful in that it's creating that safe container, getting you to feel the ground, getting you to create these shapes. Like, oh, I know what, the shape of warrior 2 is going to look different for everyone, but okay, I have sort of a structure of what it's supposed to look like. Oh, okay, that feels safe for me. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, okay, now that you've created that, now let's take it off the mat. Whether that is dancing and being free or the meditation, everything's a meditation, right? It's not just I sit and meditate for 60 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever it is. It's like, no, we want to be always like in conversation as a meditation, chopping your carrots as a meditation, whatever it is, we want to integrate it into our lives. Yeah. So that's a lot of what my teaching is, how do we get this off the mat as soon as possible? Not just to like leave the mat, but to integrate it off and on the mat. Yeah.
Which is a beautiful, beautiful way to think about it. Because, like you were saying about getting yoga people to dance, it's the same as when you're getting people who've not done yoga to get into warrior 2. It's an overwhelm of the adjustments, the alignment, the tailbone slightly tucked to sink down. If you let knee towards the outside of your mat, and you're like, I'm never gonna get this, and that overwhelm is with a lot of things that you do that are new. And it's because I'm doing a lot of like Wim Hof cold water therapy at the moment.
Oh yeah.
There's overwhelm, there's resistance to doing it, there's stories you create in your head for why you might not have to do it today. And then you realize every time you do it, it gets easier. And then eventually the stories disappear, the overwhelm's disappeared, and you're looking forward to it. And you're actually, now the water's getting warmer, you're like, oh, I want it to be colder. I want it to hurt a little bit,
Yeah.
And it gets you ready for uncomfortable situations in your life. It's then you're less reactive. Like Wim Hof is like, I used to get in the shower when I was a kid and it'd be like cold shower, like all these them cold shower noises. And now I just get in and I'm like, I'm just in the cold water.
You're in it now. Yeah.
Like drop the drama. Like so many teachers are about just drop the drama and let's see what's there after the drama.
Yeah. Well, it's this raising your window of tolerance, and we can look at your body in that cold water, right? When you first went in, it was like you didn't have much of a window of tolerance, and now your window of tolerance is so great. You can just get in like full on. It's ice cold, and you're like, yeah, bring it, right? And that's what the yoga practice is. It's increasing your window of tolerance of being in your body again, and getting a little frustrated and feeling uncomfortable, but warrior 2 was hell when I first started. And I was like already a dancer. I was already strong and flexible. But man, warrior 2, my legs were always shaking. And now I can like hold it while I'm teaching my whole teacher training and have them hold it for 5 minutes or whatever. And I'm like, what's wrong with you guys? It's just, we've increased our window of tolerance there. And it's just like the next level. What can we do now? What can we do now to feel even more expansive?
And that's what all these practices should have, the knock-on effect to just bring everything on. Bring it on. Bring me, like that's what Ram Dass talks about. Like, bring me discomfort because it gets me closer to where I need to be. He talks about fierce grace and suffering, and like that's getting us closer to God, closer to our true essence, for just putting ourselves through that all the time, which is like remarkable, because kind of instinctively in the West we're like, I want to avoid any discomfort, I want to avoid any suffering, I want to avoid any like talk of death or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go away from the movement 109 for a second.
Yeah.
I want to know what's it giving to people? What's it like? What's the kind of what's the mission and the energy behind what you're giving out, and also what are the benefits that people are saying from the experience?
Yeah. Well, to even kind of continue what I was saying before, I didn't quite complete the thought, but it's going to answer your question, is that I think of it, to go to what we were just saying with the yoga, we're getting them back into the body. It's more masculine. It's more linear. It's giving them the structure and form. But then when we go to the dance, like you were saying, it's like a little uncomfortable, but it's a remembering. It's not anything new. We all danced as little kids, right? Whether you were a girl or a boy, you felt such freedom. You felt such joy when you danced, right? But then there was something at some point in our life, especially I think with men, that it was no longer acceptable, right? It was no longer acceptable. There was maybe shame in your body, guilt for whatever reason, that you had to now be grown up and do certain things. And so I feel like this movement practice is a remembering of that joy that you had as a child, the remembering of being closer to God, right? When we were babies, that's probably the closest to God that we were until probably when we die, right? To complete that cycle. And so it's getting those, maybe it's just a glimmer of that again, that remembering, that joy. Maybe it's a longer period of time. Maybe it lasts like multiple weeks after, but it's getting back to the essence of that joy is humming underneath all of this. As uncomfortable it might be, all of that shit that we have to go through, all of the gunk, joy is humming still underneath all of it. And we can access it at any time. And so if we can remember that, and I'm not saying that as a point of avoidance, like, oh my God, the world's about to end, let's just dance, right? It's really just like, it's all going to be okay.
Might as well just dance if it's still going
to Yeah, that's true. And that's true too. But I just meant like the melodramatic thing of like, oh my God, it might not end, but what do you really like, if it's going to end or not? Do you really want to end up with your fist clenching and like freaking out, or do you want to soften and surrender to it with joy in your heart and with love in your heart? So that's the essence of the mission of it. The way that I created the form of it with the body work on the floor was to, again, create a safe container in their bodies, to drop them down into that rest digest system and restore system, so that they can feel that arc and move into the safety, and have more opportunity to access it. And then when we do take them through the chakras, so when there is a song that comes on that they remember from their childhood or a breakup or whatever, and it is feeling uncomfortable in that dance, they can still have resources. Oh, this movement feels familiar to me. They can work through it. They can really move the energy out through it rather than holding on to it or ignoring it.
Yeah.
So it's not even like the dance is just joyful and like there's still gritty work that's happening within the movement that we're doing there too.
Yeah. And are you finding like a lot of resistance from new people coming in, or is it easy to get them sort of moving and flowing and allowing the music to do its thing?
Yeah. You talked about this in your interview just a moment ago, of like the excuses. Like people like having their excuses. I have a lot of that, like the before people. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I think you use like the excuse of like, I have to take the trash out or something. Yeah, like I have to do this today. I have these list of things to do. I have a lot of that like resistance, but as soon as they get into it, like, oh my God, why didn't I do that sooner? When are we doing this again? So it is, I think it's more of a fear of the unknown. It's really the fear of the unknown of maybe there's something that they're going to see or experience for themselves. maybe it's just that idea of like dancing. I haven't done that in so long. I'm not quite sure what they're rubbing up against. I think it's individual, but you know, every person, the online and in person, people, you know, experiences, everyone has walked away with just a release of some kind, and experiencing that joy. And
I want to do it. When's
come
when's the
next week.
Next
I'll
week.
send you the link. Yeah,
send me the link. And how can like people listening, like just let us know how people can connect with you, connect with the Movement 109.
Yeah. They can find me a couple different ways. Yeah, there's my business is nOMad, nomadalwaysatom.com, OM. That's been my business for the past 5 years. And that we have over there, not just we have yoga as well as this movement practice and the podcast, the space in between, and other various trainings. And then you can also find just specifically the movement practice is my own website, PhoebeLeona.com. And I can give that to you to write out. But yeah, it's PhoebeLeona.com. And that's my own kind of personal website explaining a little bit more about this movement practice and me to getting to know me.
So that focuses entirely on the Movement 109.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and nOMad is more of the community. So nOMad, our mission there is really to create community and using the language of yoga, but I've always had the intention that it would be not just yoga, but healers and movement facilitators and, you know, sound healers and breath workers. And I just always knew it was going to be a community of various healers and teachers and guides. So nOMad is really more of my community that's over there. And then Phoebe Leona is specifically me and in the movement practice.
Awesome. And what day is the class next week? Because I'll put this podcast out like today or tomorrow.
Yes, let's do it.
Hopefully we can get some of my people to come and dance with me at your
let's do it. I know. And then I'm going to come to yoga rave. Yes. We'll just keep going back. We'll just keep bouncing back and forth, and maybe we'll even collaborate in some way. I would love that.
That'd be great. Yeah, because it's really interesting chatting to you, and I'm seeing like, you know, a lot of similarities with what we're doing. Like I think yours is a little bit, mine's you know, and it's nice that kind of like feels more feminine, what you're, you know, more subtle, more beautiful, and mine's quite masculine and like demanding.
Yeah, well, you're embodying that, like you said in what we were talking earlier, like you're learning how to embrace your masculine in a healthier way, and I feel that I'm learning to embrace my feminine in a different way. And so, I mean, the majority of people who come to my classes are women, but I want to change that. You know, I've invited Bodhi.
I want to change that.
Yeah, like why can't we all just dance together? It's like, what the hell? So let's do it. So my classes, to answer your question, they're Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we have offerings every day through nOMad. We have, like I call them, morning rituals for everyone in the United States. So we have a meditation on Mondays and Fridays, and then a yoga class on Wednesdays. But then my movement practice is on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Definitely. I just link for next Tuesday. We'll be
oh my God, I would love that. Yeah.
Epic.
That would be so awesome. The other piece that I'm working on, I have a group that I'm formulating right now. It's a 6-week program, and it's going to be using this movement practice really for diving into people's personal traumas. And so I'll be working one-on-one and kind of creating their own movement practice with that, you know, giving them resources. But then we're working together as a group. Each week we're going to, and it's a very curated, diverse group. So we have, you know, a young girl, well, not young girl, but a young woman just graduated college who's, you know, first generation Filipino. And, you know, one of my friends who is a Black man who's a councilman or was a councilman. And we have a couple of other people, just very diverse. I think I'm the only white girl because that's what tends to be right in this community of ours. So I kind of curated it so that we're all going to share our stories and our perspectives, and starting to learn how to be more empathetic and compassionate and hold space for people. And so each week we'll focus on giving the energy and holding space for one of those people, kind of help them collect, with their healing. Okay. And then through their healing, we'll be also doing our own work of healing. So I'm really excited about that and seeing where that goes.
That sounds amazing. When does that start?
That's going to start June 21st. And it's with 5 people. Actually, I thought of you. Maybe we can get you into the group. But we're going to do 5 people. So each week, the first week will be sort of just the introductions, and I'll kind of walk them through it with my own healing journey. And then each week we'll be holding space for somebody for their healing journey. So
really powerful. Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So on your nOMad site, do you do all the teaching? Do you do the meditations, the morning rituals? Are you collaborating with other people? How does it work?
Yeah, right now I teach on Mondays the meditation on social media, and then Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then Wednesday and Friday we are getting a guest nOMad teacher. So I have, I have all these amazing, beautiful, actually I have one man, but most of them are women, who've gone through my teacher trainings, and now they're, work as nOMad teachers. They're out in the community teaching, not just in New York, but they all actually have moved. I have a lot of people from the military, so they're all have moved out beyond New York. So they're hosting classes on Wednesdays and Fridays. So that revolves each week, a different nOMad teacher. Awesome. But yeah, I'm also thinking about maybe like once a month doing something to co-create with somebody who's outside of that. So like you and I, we could co-create something. Awesome. I've talked to, with other breath workers and sound healers about kind of co-creating an event to help spread the love, and just need more resources, more medicine, the work that we're doing, and we're trying to share what I'm doing might not be necessarily for the person who's listening, but they really resonate with yours. And so the more we can continue to do what we're doing today with the podcast is like letting people hear different voices and different modalities, and maybe mix and matching a little bit what works for them, and finding the modality that works for them.
Totally. And that's what I speak about is I want you to be the best version of yourself, but it might not be me who can get you there, but I can help you find that person. And the more connections we make, hopefully the quicker we get people to, avoiding the diversions and get on their paths. Like
exactly.
Full power, superpower.
Yeah. We, right when the quarantine or the lockdown happened, like mid-March, we hosted a global festival, and it sounds similar to what you'll be doing for the summer solstice. I'm going to find out more about that. But yeah, we had over 40 healers, facilitators, teachers hosting Zoom classes over the weekend, and so it wasn't just yoga; it was also breath work and sound healing meditations and Akashic records reading, and it was really beautiful to do on online. So so that people could just do that, like find what's working for them right now, because it might not be being on your mat right now. It might be listening to a gong bath. Totally, yeah. So
it could be anything. I think that's something that I'm going to try and implement next, the next time I kind of go to a festival or something online, like pick the thing that I want to go to and pick the thing that I really don't want to go to.
Ooh, yeah.
Because there's probably something in that. Like, why is my resistance to that or to that teacher? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's a good intention. Yeah, it's like we're rubbing up against.
You'll start talking yourself out of it. No, it's that one I don't really like.
Well, it is. It's like I mean, I think just the little that I've read of your book, I feel, you definitely felt like you were bumping up against something, and then it ended up being your medicine. Like, I've had that so many times where, why am I resisting that? Usually if it's not going to be anything, I'm indifferent to it. But that thing that just ugh, just, I keep like, it keeps coming back and I keep rubbing up against it. Yeah, it ends up being exactly what I needed.
Yeah. Let's dive into
Yeah.
them things a little bit more. So
Yeah.
what I want, if you're cool with this, I just want, like, you know, you've been teaching for 20 years. Kind of, how did you get into to becoming a yoga teacher? What was your life like before, and how's it changed? Just give us some background.
Yeah, let's dive in. I like it. I'm an open book. So to go way back, I danced in my room a lot. You know, I was like, always knew I was going to be a professional dancer, but I used dance as therapy for myself. My childhood was really very challenging. I saw a lot of abuse. I wasn't necessarily a victim of physical abuse, but my father was a Vietnam vet. He did 2 tours. And so he had very severe PTSD from his tours and probably other mental health issues prior to that. And so it was a very hard childhood. My parents separated when I was 7, and I lived with my father until I was 14. And it was this life that I didn't know what was outside of my bedroom door. You know, I was safe within my bedroom for the most part, and then I was safe when I went to school. And I was this girl who had so many friends, and was the lead in the musicals and the captain of this and that. So it was very like high functioning out there, successful or whatever. And then I came home and I didn't know what I was going to get. Was he going to be manic? Was he going to have a flashback? Was he going to be in this rage? I never really knew. So dance was always my therapy. I kind of created this own world that was safe and that I could experience my own emotions when I didn't quite know how to make sense of them or make sense of somebody else's emotions. And so when I started to go the route of being a dancer professionally, it changed, right? It was like really focused on the discipline of it, the structure of it, making sure you had the perfect lines and making sure you were on the right counts with the group. There was a lot of beauty in that, like being in connection with others, whether you were with your group and moving with them, but also the giving and the receiving with the audience. But I always felt left empty. I always felt like, oh, this isn't what I used to feel in my bedroom dancing. So I moved to New York City and did the whole thing. I danced with a number of modern dance companies and kind of played with the idea of musicals. And I just felt like, I don't want to sit in a room with 200 other girls for one role again, who all look like me, who are all just as talented as me. And it's really just going to come down to luck, or if you know that person who's going to be sitting at the table that day. So I was using Pilates and yoga as my physical therapy, but then the yoga quickly turned into my own therapy. Again, it was like coming back home to what dance was for me before. And, and then there was this whole just spiritual awakening. I didn't have any sort of raising of a religion or even talking of faith prior to that. So yoga started to open me up to that world. And then I started to teach it and transitioned out of the dance world. So that was probably formally like 2004, 2003, 2004, somewhere around there. I was getting married at the time. I was married in 2005. And 2009, we moved up to the Hudson Valley, which is about an hour and a half north of New York City, kind of like to settle down, whatever that means. I'm still not sure what that means, but yeah, to like play house, I guess. And in the midst of all of that, I had not been connected with my father since I was 14 when I moved out of the house. So in the midst of all of this moving out of the city, or maybe it was just before I moved out of the city, he contacted me and he came back into my life, and he had been in recovery for 12 years and was taken care of by the VA. So he was somewhat rehabilitated. He was still considered 100% mentally disabled, but he was still he was able to function and carry on a relationship. So like 2009, 2010, we started to build this relationship again. And and this connection. And here I am kind of teaching yoga full time and playing house. And then it's actually, because you talked about the date of the Mayan calendar ending, right, was December 21st. And I remember this day. It wasn't a huge significant day, but I remember knowing in my heart that my marriage was ending. And I won't go into the details of that, but I knew. And then just a few days later was Christmas, and that ended up being the last time I saw my father. So my father died 2 weeks later on January 8th. And then that just started everything. My dad died, my marriage ended 2 months later, and then 2013 was just this year of deconstruction. Like everything in my life was just coming apart. And then I went to live in Costa Rica for 9 months, and that's where I had the seed of nOMad. It was planted there, and I came back to the Hudson Valley to water it and grow it, and that's kind of where I'm at. That was a really long-winded answer.
No, it could have gone on. It could have gone on for a lot longer. I asked you for how it all happened.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful story, and that's the beautiful thing of how we all get to that space through different circumstances and from challenging situations. But how was it dealing with those? How different do you think it would have been if you hadn't had your yoga practice and you're already having some sort of spirituality when those, like, your marriage broke down, your father died? Do you think they really, really helped to embed like some understanding of them situations?
Yeah, I think having that some sort of discipline, that structure, like I keep kind of coming back to, is having that structure, was definitely necessary. And I think so that was 2013. In 2009, there was sort of this wave of all of those possibilities again, not my dad dying, but my marriage ending. And I still had a strong practice. I think it's kind of what helped me get through that period. But it's interesting because I'm so grateful for it, but it also confirmed that I've already had these tools. It reminded me, it put language to what I didn't know that I already had. So when I started to, deconstruct my life, and yes, I came back to the mat and I did my meditation, but I was realizing, oh my God, I've been here before. I use dance as my therapy. I use asana now, at that time. I use meditation on the mat. Well, back then I would lay in bed and I would imagine my brain like as a vacuum. My bed was a vacuum, like drawing the thoughts out of my mind, and, having mantra, just telling myself that I was okay, and like telling myself who I was. And just, I was soothing myself then as a child. And so I was just kind of saying, oh, I've been doing this whole time. I'm so grateful for that too. Maybe it was my future self came back as into my childhood and shared that with me to, keep me safe and to help me move forward. Maybe it was a past life that I carried these tools in. I'm not sure. I'm just grateful that I had them. But yeah, and then I had this structure of the yoga practice during that time. So definitely grateful I had that, for me, like I'm also really grateful that I never really had problems with drugs or alcohol. I was always on the edge. Yeah. Because I was so aware of my father's addictions. He was a crackhead. He was arrested. He was also a heroin addict. Like, he went through all of these different phases while I was living with him. And I was so nervous that I would be like him. I was so nervous that I'd be like him. And so I was always very disciplined. I think dance was what helped me. It was just, I was always disciplined. I had to go to dance practice, I had to go to rehearsal. So that kept me safe from that edge. But I always was friends with those guys. Yeah. Like, all my boyfriends were the bad boys. And I was like, they always were the bad boys. And I always had friends that like were partying, and I could be that sober girl at the party. Because I knew it so well. I grew up with it, but I never really now, I'm not saying like I'm pure, because I definitely tried things, but I was just always like checking myself, you know, what road are you about to go down, Phoebe? You know, I constantly were asking myself that. The irony is that one of the reasons why I went through the divorce was that he was addicted to pills, and he was not willing to take any other route but that. And so he knew that, and he didn't want me to go on that path. So he was like, it's time to just set you free. And I hope he is safe. I hope he's good and healthy, but I don't know.
Yeah. And that's how kind of like from that crisis nOMad developed, and that's kind of like your main thing. And I guess you must get a lot of feelings of family and community and connection from that.
Yeah, I do. And I hope that I can provide that for other people. You know, the one thing that I felt growing up was, I'm very grateful because I have, like, my mom's side of the family is very loving and kind and open and accepting. But my other side of my family, my dad was when he was good, he was really good. You know, he was really love and open and just, I had such self-confidence because of that. But then I also had this other like his parents were just really horrible people. And I never ever felt like I could do anything right. And so what nOMad was for me, and I always still kind of had their voice in the back of my head. And so what nOMad is really creating that space of like, you're seen, you're heard, we love you, whoever you are in this space, we feel that connection. And so I really teach from that space of knowing that, and like knowing that feeling of disconnection and of alone. Even in my marriage, I felt disconnected and alone because of his drug use. And, you know, so that's definitely one of my missions, is if you show up at anything, whether it's labeled as nOMad or anything with me, you know, I want to know that I want to be able to communicate freely that you're seen, you're heard, you're felt, you're loved. And if you don't, you feel safe to tell me that, right? We can work through that together.
Yeah. And I think, you know, going into like abusive childhoods and stuff, like a lot of times, like when you were talking then, like there's this, you know, it actually gave you a lot of tools, that situation, for you then to go into New York City, you know, easily can go down a wrong path in most cities. But to have that connection to your father and to have that inner voice going, this is not where I want to go all the time, in a way, that was the perfect father for you.
Yeah.
And like for me as well, and I say this to other people, I'm like, your biggest torturous thing from your childhood is actually your biggest blessing.
Yeah.
And Tony Robbins talks about it a lot in a lot of his things, because there'll be women who, or men who've had these, like, I've had a perfect childhood, but then they go into a relationship and they expect everything to be perfect. So then nothing's ever good enough in a relationship. And you're like, fuck, Tony, you're good, man.
Yeah.
No. And you're, you know, so it's like whatever we're born into is how do you, because sometimes the worse we've had it, the better we can make it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's how do you kind of, I'm always trying to get through to people that, you know, that's your biggest building block for power and for teaching, for being a teacher. Like, I learn the most from teachers who've had a checkered background or have had a difficult background, because I see that they've had a battle. They've had to go through some stuff to get to where they have. It's not just been like, I was born into a hippie family, you know. And we've always meditated and ate tofu. So I didn't know what tofu was till I was 25.
Yeah, I feel you. I truly believe, I don't know exactly what I believe. I can't put it into words in terms of the reincarnation, but I do believe, you know, when I heard this, I thought that's true, is that we pick our parents, right? Our soul picks the life that we're ready for, the lessons that we're ready for, the karma, right? We come into what our karma is and then turn it into our dharma. That's what this physical existence of our bodies in this life is, that's what I believe. I don't know, like, beyond that, what I believe, because I think there's so many other possibilities, and I don't want to say that's it and then find out later that it's not that. I want to be open to possibility, but I do feel in my bones that yes, I chose my father, I chose my mother for the lesson that I was ready to learn, and then to make that my teaching, you know, make that not just my medicine, but medicine for other people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And to be able to identify their positives and their negatives, and to be able to just try and get all the positives and heal their negatives is like it's really, really magical when you can stand back and do that. Like, you know, you can read my book and people are like, you still come across as you love your dad so much after them horrific things. And I'm like, my dad's one of the most incredible people. He's the funniest person I've ever met in my life, and he doesn't give a shit about like what anyone else thinks. But he's done horrific things, but there's always two people in both things. Her karma was attracting his. Energy. You know, she had issues with her father, and when you look at it in this broader perspective, there's no baddie. You know, there's no bad person. Like, you can say that the person you see as the good person is the bad person because they're calling that in. So they're actually manifesting that person to be bad in a way. So like for me, it's always like, my dad was worried. Like when he read the book, he was worried. And I was like, Dad, if anybody ever said anything to you, I'm the first one to stand in front of you and protect you. Like, I love you with all my bones. Like it's totally cool. So I think to have that, it's that, like in NLP, we become that other third person and we just witness things from above. And so have that broader consciousness and perspective is so, it makes everything magical. Everything.
So true. I even think where my country is right now, the United States, we have a person that is called the president. I did not vote for him. I do not support him, but there's something amazing that is happening right now in that he is making people wake up and speak out. You know, what we're dealing with Black Lives Matter right now, I keep thinking, like, if it was Barack Obama and this did happen, there were these situations with police brutality, and people spoke up for a minute, but then it was like, oh, but we have a Black president. I'm just like, we called him in. We called this somewhat evil person.
Aligned. Everything's perfectly aligned. Yeah.
We called him in, and I don't necessarily want him to stick around for another 4 years. Let's just wake up real quick before November and get this shit taken care of. But I mean, that's just somewhere to look at, like, not just you and I, our personal lives, but like to look at the broader scope too of like, we're calling it in personally and collectively. We're calling in these really challenging moments in our lives. And, you know, what can we do here instead of just saying, you know, playing the victim? You know, I definitely played the victim for a period of my life of, you know, being mad at my father, being mad at my mother for, you know, kind of leaving me there. And I thought, who is this hurting? Right? It's hurting me. It's really, I'm the only one who's really feeling the pain.
Because you're choosing
I'm choosing it. You know, my father, he felt the pain that he felt because he had his own guilt. My mom had her own guilt, but I was really feeling my own pain because I was still holding that grip on them of, you know, expectation of, they're human beings. I'm going to fuck up. If I have a child, I'm sure I'm going to mess them up in my own special, unique way, but I'm going to do my best, you know, and I hope that whatever I do, that they'll come to a space of softness and forgiving and to be able to experience, you know, gratitude and joy in the midst of all of it. So, yeah.
And that's when you were talking then, that's the biggest problem with one of most people's biggest problems, like the 4 agreements. Don't take things personally, you know?
Yeah.
He's doing that. Your father, he's doing that to me. My mother, she left, you know what I mean? To me, it's not the broader,
yeah,
expanded awareness. So yeah, just don't take things, got to try and not take things personally, which is
yeah,
it's a big task. But for you know, a civilization and humanity to get to that stage, things
yeah.
will be so much more beautiful. And you're talking about Trump as well, and if he's
I
waking
don't
up,
say his name.
if he's waking up, you know, if he's waking up these people, like, maybe it is, we need another 4 years of this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would prefer us just to wake up real quick and like do some shit right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that's what has to happen, that's what has to happen. And
Mm.
I'm in it for the long haul. So
yeah, just be beautiful.
yeah,
That politicians aren't running the world. Like, that doesn't exist
yeah,
anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
okay, we're gonna have, like, because I was talking to a friend and I was like, there's no politician in the world that you go, he's got something that I want to learn from and that I admire, and that I would see him as a teacher and an inspiration and as a really positive role model. There's nobody in power in the whole world who is that.
yeah,
You know.
no.
So it's when do we start having those people being leaders?
Yeah,
That's that. When you were talking before, what world I want to see a world with leaders that I'm going, I want to be as good as him.
mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah,
And we are in a world where people see these people and want to be as good as them, but it's all to do with economics, power, masculinity, these old structures. And how amazing would that be? You go to your child, this person, like, is running the country. This is what their practices are every morning. This is what they do. This is what they're empowered by. And I want you to follow them.
Yeah. No, this one watches Fox News and tweets.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. I think that, I mean, I can't remember because we've been speaking for a long time. The two of our spoke before about, and yeah, if we need to have these role models, whether they are our fathers or leaders, and you know, in the bigger sense, we need these. We need them for women and for men. And it's time, man. It's time.
Yeah. Especially for men to just be able to speak about emotions and to be able to be loving and caring and open, you know.
Yeah.
The thing with so many men are closed off, just cannot function on that level of.
And that's just taught. It's just taught behavior. I mean,
yeah.
I read the little that I read. I mean, I'm speaking to you personally. I mean, you were a very emotional boy. You know, you felt your mom's pain. You went to her and brought her, you know, tissues or something to take care of her. And you know, that's what we are born with. We're born with empathy. We're born with feeling our feelings and crying and screaming, right? That's what babies do. They just have to communicate if they need to be fed or changed. And then at some point it was cut off. Like, okay, you're done doing that. Now buck up. Be a man. Suck it up. You're sitting in shit. Just keep going. You know, like, change your own diaper.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, our mutual friend Bodie, you know, he dealt with ED, and it was like he had this thing that he couldn't share about his body, and he had to just like buck up and deal with it. I mean, that was the perception he had, right? And then he had his own healing journey of surrendering to it and being vulnerable and sharing with people. But yeah, like, there is, especially for men, but women too. I mean, we have it in a different way. Like, we have to kind of like smile and be like, everything's fine. Yeah. Look, I made this perfect cake and I'm doing everything like perfect, and like, that's exhausting.
Yeah, and this like thing of like, well, we're allowed to cry, so we'll cry all the time. You know, some people it's like, well, I'll just cry because I'm allowed, you know. Or like some men, it's like, I'll shout and be aggressive because I'm allowed. Well, you know.
Yeah. And that's like, and I feel like anger and rage are when you look at the essence of it, it's sadness, right? And it's the sadness that couldn't be expressed, so that it gets pushed down and then it comes out as rage and anger. Yeah. And it's like acceptable, which is horrible to say, but yeah, it is. It's acceptable. Men yell and women cry. Yeah. I would like to change that conversation. You know, I've been having my own kind of physical issues in my like reproductive system, and I don't have to go too deeply into it with you. But it turned a light on to me, you know, talking with my girlfriends. I never talked with my girlfriends about menstruation. And then I realized, oh God, mine's really bad. I never knew, because it was like we weren't allowed to talk about it. Yeah. And I've just addressed it this past couple of years, and it's like, you know, we just like are here bleeding and feeling our cramps, and we're like, oh yeah, everything's good. Like, oh my God, all of us, we're just hiding our true selves, and like sometimes we need to let it out. So
yeah, I think by just creating these communities where whatever anybody is going through, it can be talked about, you know. There's a space where people feel comfortable to talk to each other, like what you were talking about, menstruation. Bodhi with erectile dysfunction, like when he said that to me, I didn't even hear it. The first time he said it, in my head, I went away with my friend and I was like, I thought he'd said rectal dysfunction. I was like, what's wrong with that guy's ass, man? I was like, what's he on? I was like, has he got like, I didn't understand. And she was like, I'm not really sure, because we both heard rectal dysfunction. And like, so it's that taboo that it didn't even register with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And yeah, your body couldn't even hear it, because your body couldn't even accept that was a possibility for him or for you.
Yeah, to say with a smile. I was just like, yeah. And then to have the conversation with him, you know, there was elements of it that still made me kind of, it was just a difficult for me more than so for him, and a lot of times with the conversation. So what he's doing is incredible, just facilitating space for people to be able to talk about things like that, which I think is phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you were uncomfortable. He wasn't, but that was your mirror, right? And I think I just read a period where your penis broke in your book. So I don't know how long the penis was broken, or, you know, we don't have to go into it, but yeah, you probably like didn't want to address that, because that was maybe a possibility for you for a minute. Yeah. Right?
I think a lot of conversations like that, they just like make men wince. You're like, it's just it's uncomfortable, but it's something like we say again, we got to dig into that and space of comfortableness.
Let's just dig into it. It's actually kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm a masochist or something, but I'm just like, I like it. What's next?
Yeah, that's what you feel like every time you take ayahuasca or DMT. You're like, oh God, like you're like, I can't, I'm scared, and then you just go boom, and you're like, okay, it's done now. Yeah.
See, I've never done plant medicine because, one, I'm very sensitive to anything, like even coffee. I'm very in cacao, which is not a bad thing, but I'm just very aware of it. So to go somewhere even like stronger and to other, I mean, I've had hallucinations and experiences just with pot. So that, but then also what you're just saying of like the uncomfortableness and like being scared. I'm like, I deal with that every single day of my life, because I am like diving in deeper and deeper. I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I could handle that in like a really condensed amount of time.
Yeah, totally. It's not for everybody, and it doesn't have to be. These ways of doing all that work without, like, you know, for me now, it just doesn't. It isn't calling me at the moment. I don't know if it ever will again.
Yeah.
Who knows? But it's just open to that kind of never doing it again, or maybe doing it again. Who knows?
Yeah. And I think that's a really healthy place to be, because, you know, I have friends who have done it many times, you know, multiple times. And I have wondered, you know, I don't mean to judge them, but I'm sort of like, but I'm still seeing you do certain things in your life. And are you really going in deep? Because I feel like it's this thing, it's a ceremony, right? You have this experience and then you integrate it back into your life. You have you have to process it. You have to, do the work too. It's not this isolated event. It's you continue to grow and heal after that. And I think that sometimes and again, I'm only speaking this because I haven't had the experience, but I feel like, is it really doing you a service if you feel like you have to keep coming back to it? It turns into just maybe another addiction, if that was what you're trying to replace it with, right?
Yeah. I think that happens. That happens with some people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've moved away from this scene and I've found another scene.
Yeah. It's like, we spoke about spiritual bypassing earlier. It's just sort of another version of it. Like, oh, okay, I'll get enlightened through this plant and that'll fix my problems. And oh, it didn't. Let me try it again.
Yeah.
It's just the gateway to it. It's just the opening up to for your own work.
Yeah.
It
comes in, the whole the spiritual bypassing thing. There's like a lot, there's disguises and there's people doing the work who you look at them like on Instagram and you're like, they're not doing the work and maybe they're the biggest guru you've ever met. It's like it's this visual thing, especially on like Instagram and stuff. You're seeing pictures of people and people are judging them, and I'm always stepping back and I'm going, actually, that's just a girl putting pictures of herself up, doing yoga poses provocatively. I don't know if she's doing the work or not, but then they could be a girl who's, got candles lit. She's got a thing. She's talking about her ayahuasca. She's doing this and everything looks pretty and perfect and like she's really going into it. And you don't know if she's doing the work.
Social media is such a trickster.
Yeah, but it's kind of, you just, again, stepping back and going, I don't know the person,
Yeah.
And even if I did know the person, who am I to judge them? They're on their own path. I'll leave them to it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I've definitely get caught up in that a little bit too. But what I'm decided to do is like look at the mirror, right? As soon as I see myself judging and saying, oh, doing the yoga pose on the beach, or like the perfect candles and having this beautiful new moon ceremony. And if I start to judge them, it's like, oh, I am doing the work right now, or I'm not doing the work right now. Yeah. So what is that speaking to me? How can maybe this is a new voice that I'm experiencing, like how to be vulnerable in a different way, because maybe I've been like creating this persona that is not authentic. And I don't know, it could go in so many ways, but I leave it for a question for myself.
Yeah. I think that's the most beautiful way to do it, rather than just reacting. And shouting and commenting, and it's like, all is cool. So kind of before we sort of wrap things up, is there anything you would like to share with my listeners? I obviously want to hit you up for all the links again in a minute, and again, tell us next week when your Movement 109 is going to be on. But is there anything else you would like to share with us?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like we went all over. We've been talking, I think, between ours, I think we've been talking for like 3 hours or something. I love it. Yeah. I feel it's good. If there's something else I need to say, they can find me over in social media or reach out to me directly, and then I can tell them more.
So what are your Instagram? What's your Instagram and your Facebook?
Yeah, so Instagram, you can go to the handle nOMad, always at home. And my own is phoebeleona.love. Facebook is my name. And again, nOMad is, actually, I want to put this out there because you're on Facebook, yeah?
Yep.
I don't know if we're friends yet over there.
Not yet.
But I just started this group a couple weeks ago. It's nOMad and Beyond Festival. It's kind of the continuation of the online festival I was telling you about before, but it's just over at a group. And I'm inviting anybody who's a teacher, a healer, a performer to offer little samplings of what they have going live. So you can go over there if you're not anybody who wants to offer something, but you want to go and learn a new tool, like, have a little mini yoga rave. You can offer that. I'm inviting anybody who wants to go over there and offer what they have to offer the world, another modality that works for them, and bring it out into the light. They can offer that there, or they can just go and, be a participant. And so that's a Facebook group, nOMad and Beyond Festival. Cool. And websites, nomadalwaysatHome.com and PhoebeLeona.com.
Wicked.
I think I told you everything. Yeah.
Awesome. And we're going to be dancing on Tuesday or Thursday next week.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Send me some links to that. I'll try and get some people involved next week.
That'd be awesome.
Great. I'd really love to experience it. It'd be magical.
Yeah. And are you doing a yoga rave this week?
Yeah, Sunday, 11 a.m., which is while you're sleeping.
Oh, damn. Okay.
You can always catch them up. Like, they're all on my page. You can rewatch them.
Whatever. You do them recorded? Okay.
You can just do it when you wake up if you want.
All right.
Sorry?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I've got a couple of friends in the States that do it like when they get up, which is cool.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, this is more reason why I want to take your class and Bodhi's class, so I need to move over there.
So it doesn't have to be when you're asleep.
Exactly. Yeah. I've had a couple of times for his. I'm still awake at like 12:30. I'm like, do I stay up until 1? And then that means I'll be up until 2:30. And
it's a bit, isn't it? Yeah, you can just catch up his class. I think he does the Zoom one. I think you can just catch up with it.
Yeah, he sends it to me sometimes. Yeah,
which is cool. Yeah, it's beautiful. His class on the pier in Barcelona, and then you get in the water afterwards. It's really nice.
Yeah. I love that both of you being men are embodying the dance piece of it too. I just love seeing that. It's so necessary.
Yeah.
For you men to get in your bodies and totally feel that. Yeah. So we're gonna dance together, man. We're doing it.
Awesome.
I love it.
You have to when you come to my yoga rave, you have to pretend you're a schizophrenic, yeah?
Oh, why? What do you mean?
Because you have to just dance like you're a nutter.
Oh. Pretend. I think I already am.
Okay, that's all good.
I just kind of hide it, yeah. I've been on my best behavior today.
Yeah. No, it's been like an absolute pleasure chatting to you, especially because I'm talking to you and I'm seeing so many like resemblances, but in the feminine, which has been really beautiful. You're growing up, you're kind of moving to the city. Like I moved to London and like was doing acting, and then just the path is really interesting to just listen to you chat. So it was an absolute pleasure, and thank you for everything you're giving to the world, and the joy and the healing and the paths and the community and connections that you're creating with all these beautiful humans.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been such a joy. I'm so grateful. This is another reason why I love social media, because I don't know if I would have been connected to you otherwise. So thank you for reaching out and making this happen and doing what you do. And I think that your work, is definitely necessary, because we are moving into a new era of men, and you are embodying it already and kind of ahead of the curve and bringing, you are the leader that you're searching for. Like you were saying, you wanted that leader. You're embodying that leader that you want, and that's going to help so many people. So thank you for doing that work.
Thank you, and thank you to our brother Bodhi for kind of being that link.
Yeah, a little connector.
Yeah, beautiful.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
My energy feels your vibe. 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 My energy feels your energy. My vibe feels your vibe.
Oh yes, that was a beautiful conversation. I loved the flow of it, man. It was just like I was chatting to an old friend, and it was just fascinating listening to the parallels between our journeys. Like, it was kind of like she'd had this kind of female version of my journey, and what we're both doing now is like it's the female and masculine equivalent of each other. So it was just a blessing to have the conversation, and I hope you can go and check out her Movement 109, and I hope you can kind of implement some of the principles of, you know, like she says, the 109 is the 109th bead on the mala, which is all about just finding stillness, finding a space to process what you've done. So you've counted all these mala beads or whatever you've done this massive project. And if you took a little step back to just take a moment to give gratitude, to appreciate it, to observe, to see if there's anything else that you've missed, that you've overlooked because you've been too interested in counting these beads. You know, is there something coming up in this moment of stillness? And we do this in the yoga raves also. We come out of the dancing and we take a breath. We find some stillness. We find a way to connect. And it's beautiful. So it was fascinating to just chat to her to, you know, reaffirm the thing about the 109th mala bead. So thank you to Phoebe. You are a truly exceptional woman, light worker, spreading love, spreading joy, spreading consciousness and empowerment to lots and lots of human beings. So God bless you, Phoebe. We appreciate you, and we need more people in the world like you. Full power, Hari Ram. Okay, please get over to the liambrowne.com site. Check out all we've got going on. We've got some yoga videos up on there at the moment. There's links to the podcast, links to the blog. Go and check out what we've been chatting about, what we've been up to. Get over to the Facebook page, Liam Browne Love. Everything is on there. Yoga rave, 11 a.m. Dance parties, Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Thursday night, 6 p.m. We'll see you there for some boogieing, for some dancing, for some releasing of energy, releasing of toxins. What else we got going on? I'll remind you, EnviroFest, Friday the 19th, 7 p.m. Yoga rave. Holistic Festival, holisticfestival.com. Check that out. Pay your stupidly a little amount of money for a ticket. I think it's a $5. It's nothing. And you're getting incredible teachers from all over the world. We'll be on that. 4 p.m. I think that starts. And then Yogestival, which is on Yogestival Facebook page. We will be doing a yoga rave to finish that off. It's the International Day of Yoga. So all the yogis connecting all over the world. These little threads of energy popping from each and every one of our heads, connecting, becoming unity, becoming this. Yoga is all about yoke, it's about unity, it's about this coming together of humans, of us going through this yogic path. Start with your yamas and your niyamas, the 10 commandments, which can just like eradicate pain, shift emotion, make you feel like you've taken this weight off your shoulders. Start living by these principles, picking yourself up on your stealing, on your dishonesty, on all your bad traits, on eating meat. Like, stop eating meat, man. It's 2020. What are you doing? Don't put that shit into your body. Anyway, enough from me. I hope you all have a beautiful week. I'll try and calm down a little bit. I seem to speak really, really fast sometimes. So I'll speak like a proper yoga teacher now. No, I can't, because I've got to do the booyah. So I'm going to speak passionately, fast, immediately. I'm going to have a great week. I hope you all have a great week. Be magical. Make sure you do something special for the yoga weekend, for the International Festival of Yoga, for the summer solstice. Remember, we're going into this new phase, this new planetary shift. Like, this is the longest day. This is where we can plant seeds. This is where we can manifest our magnificence. So do it. I'll see you on the other side. Take it easy. Booyah!
Need you to bless my soul.
Thank you so much for listening to the Deal is a Healer podcast. Please stay tuned for more episodes of transformation, of metamorphosis, of people becoming the most beautiful version of themselves and teaching you, the listeners, how to become the most beautiful version of yourself. So if you want all that information, all that knowledge, all these amazing guests that I've got on my show, please subscribe. There's a subscribe button somewhere on this screen, so please just link onto that. You'll get a notification straight away of any new episodes, and I promise you I've got epic epic guests coming up, so please stay tuned. If you want to know anything else about the Dealer to Healer movement, of what I've got going on, about my links to the book, links to my website, links to my music, everything, please go in the description below. It's just down there somewhere. You just hit description and everything, it'll tell you everything. So nice one, have a beautiful day, take it easy, and remember, please subscribe, that would be amazing. Peace.